What up, baby? It's your boy, the ATX Sooner, back with another video. And as promised, today I wanted to kind of discuss with y'all why Brent Venables is the guy. Like, why we should not be so ready to push him out the door. Um, has he had a bad year? Has he had a couple bad years? Yes, he has. Are they all his fault? Honestly, I can make a firm argument as to why no, that's not the case. Um, what was he brought here for? To build that defense, to bring that Oklahoma defense back. Has he done that? You damn right he's done that. So anyways, before we get into it, if this is your first time tuning in, if this is your first time watching, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Join the family, man. Hey, I'm from Austin, Texas. I know everybody wonders, how are you an Oklahoma fan? You're in Longhorn country, born and raised. You damn right. That's why I'm one of the realest, baby. So come on, join the realest, be a part of the realest team, and let's get into it, man. So Brent Venables, a lot of y'all aren't gonna like this. A lot of y'all think that, hey, this dude needs to be on the hot seat. If he has a bad year this year, he needs to be gone next year. No. No, 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 not the case at all. I don't believe that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll give him till next year. If he has a year like last year, this year, then next year, then we could talk about that being his last year. But this year does not need to be his last year at all. Okay, what has he done at Oklahoma? One, he's completely changed the culture. Does that matter if you're not winning? Not for a lot of people, but for me, that very much so matters. He said it himself. He said he wasn't throwing shots, but we know what he was doing when he came to people calling out the 2022 team about, there was people not passing drug tests, not passing their grades and everything like that. And you got to be eligible to play. You got to be able to, handle your business off the field in order to be able to perform on the field. And that's something that he's done a complete night and day flip. We don't hear about Oklahoma players getting arrested anymore or anything like that. Some of our favorites says, has been through it. So, but that's not a thing anymore. But let's get into what matters the most, man. These years where he hadn't had a good year. Okay, let's talk about 2022 and last year. Um, do we blame him for that? Me personally, I do blame him for last year because a lot of that was on him. But I can give you a lot of arguments, like I said before, why that wasn't necessarily his fault. Um, but let's just start with 2021. All right, we're gonna go through the statistic differences between a Lincoln Riley team versus a Brent Venables team. And can we talk about 2022? We're going to, but I don't hold that year against him at all. We know that once Lincoln Riley left the program, he pretty much gutted the program. Took all the recruits with him. A lot of the players was like, we don't know what to expect, so let's get out of here. Let's enter this transfer portal. So we didn't enter the year prepared for that year, talent wise, But stat wise, let's talk about 2021. What was that? That was a year where we could have went to the Big 12 championship. But obviously, Lincoln Riley got the call from USC, and pretty much just threw the team away at that point. Once he made that decision, I'm going to USC, I'm going to California. He pretty much forgot about Oklahoma. And you can see the difference. You can almost tell when that happened at that point in the year because we were on a roll. I think we went like 9-0 until the point to where the next two games we just completely dropped off the surface of the earth. Like, it made no sense, and we were all wondering, how does a team so good drop so bad? It's because Lincoln Riley's not bought in. Let's talk about his defense though, okay? His defense, I have the stats right here. I got these stats from collegefootballstats.com. They pretty much just this an analytics site. But Oklahoma had a number 76 defense when it comes to yards per game, allowing 390 yards per game, and a number 58 defense when it comes to points per game, allowing 25 points per game. All right. Lincoln Riley. That's what we expected, but we all put faith on having that top 5 offense that we had year round with the Baker Mayfields, the Kyler Murrays, the Jalen Hurts. But we didn't have that. We had Spencer Rattler for half of the year until Caleb Williams put his Superman cape on and performed out of this world. We thought we had a Heisman. We thought we had some gold coming our way once we put him on the field. Let's talk about that offense, though. That top 5 offense we were hoping for, not so much. Number 18, 450 yards per game. Number 8 when it comes to points per game with 39. That was more of a Lincoln Riley off year. It's crazy to say that 39 points a game, number 8 offense is an off year, but we know what he was capable of doing. And that offense would have been a lot better if he would have stayed bought in throughout the year. But let's talk about, okay, that's Lincoln Riley stats. Okay, boom, he's out the picture. He's gone. Brent Venables comes in with a gutted team. We bring in Dillon Gabriel, which he did get hurt that year, so that does, that made a huge difference. But when he came in, did we drop off the surface of the earth? You damn right we did. Number 22 defense, again, gutted. When it comes to points, yards per game, we allowed 461 yards per game. And number 99 defense, when it comes to points per game, allowing 30 points. What happened to that offense? The offense actually got a little better with Dillon Gabriel at the helm. With number 13 offense, when it comes to yards per game, with 474 yards per game. And a number 32 offense, that's where we kind of, that's where you can see the drop off with the offense when it comes to the points per game, going from number 8 to number 32, averaging 32 points per game. Did we have hope in that? We were kind of like, we understood. I believe that the whole Oklahoma community expected that to happen that year because we obviously knew what happened in that offseason. So, one, do we put that on Brent Venables? No, I don't think any of us holds that against Brent Venables. And if you do hold that against Brent Venables, you got to get him in some slack behind that, man. The dude literally had to rebuild a program from scratch. So let's talk about 2023. All right, he got a couple guys in. This is Jeff Lebby's now second year doing the offense. Did we have some issues with Jeff Lebby? Did we want Jeff Lebby gone? Did he make some... It was the jet sweeps and all the wide receiver screens. Do we have a problem with that stuff? We did. But let's see what Jeff Lebby did. He actually gave us the number 3 offense when it comes to yards per game, averaging 507 yards a game. That was what we expected from Lincoln Riley in 2021. And let's talk about the points per game, averaging 41 points per game, number 4 in the nation. Okay? That was what we expected from Lincoln Riley. Despite all the issues that we had with Jeff Lebby, the way he did it, he performed at the end of the day. Now let's talk about the defense. All right, we went from a number 122 defense in 22 to a number 79 defense, allowing 389 yards per game, and a number 48 defense when it comes to points per game, allowing 23. Okay, so he pretty much cut from 2022 to 2023, he pretty much cut those stacks in half. Okay, so now we know, okay, the defense is working. Okay, Jeff Lebby is there. The offense is clicking better than it was in 2021 when we had a Caleb Williams, when we had a Theo Weiss, when we had a Hazelwood, like expectations grew from that point. What happened though? Jeff Lebby, we ran him out. We ran Jeff Lebby out of the palace. He took the Mississippi State job. Okay, boom. What do you expect from Brent Venables? You expect him to have another good offensive coordinator hire. This is where I put blame on Brent Venables for last year. Okay, he did the lazy thing and just hired within. He didn't go out there search for a Ben Arbuckle. He didn't do anything like that. He trusted the people he had in his facility and elevated them to the offensive coordinator position. And that, by far, was the worst decision that he could have made. Because that offense went from the number 32 offense or I'm sorry, it went from the number 3 offense, 507 yards per game, to the number 113th offense with 331 yards per game. Okay, the number 4 offense when it comes to points per game with averaging 41 to the number 97 offense averaging 24 points per game. All right, that's Jeff Lebby. I'm sorry, that's the difference that Jeff Lebby made from I forget who our even offensive coordinator was, because I completely want to wipe out 2024 from existence in my brain. That's how bad it was. But let's talk about the growth of that defense. Remember, in 2022, he had the number 122 defense with 461 yards per game, number 99 defense with 30 points per game allowed. Last year, he went from 122 to 19. He had the 19th best offense. At this point, you could talk. Defense. You could put the best in front of that. He had a top 20 defense, averaging or allowing 318 yards per game, and a top 30 defense with number 29 to be exact, averaging 21 points per game. Okay, is he here doing his job? You damn right he's here doing his job. Because guess what this year is going to look like on our defense? We should be a top 10 defense. We should be a top 10 defense. And with this Ben Arbuckle offense that I'm trusting in, I'm hoping and believing in, it's giving me a combination of Lincoln Riley and Jeff Lebby if you were to mix them together. I'm expecting more of those 2023 offensive stats from our team this year, So, can you do anything about all 5 of your starting receivers being banged up? You can't do anything about that. That's where I don't put any blame on Brent Venables. Can you do anything about your offensive line being banged up, having like 10 different rotations at offensive line throughout the year, starting each game? You can't put the blame on Brent Venables for that. Okay? Injuries happen, and unfortunately, Oklahoma got struck by the injury curse last year, where we couldn't even see the full effect of our offense last year. That's why I kind of feel for Jackson Arnold. I feel like Jackson Arnold came here. He had the perfect possibility of being a great quarterback, but everything just fell beneath his feet. So let's talk about Brent Venables from year 1 to current, okay? Year 1, you don't put that on him. He's rebuilding a program that lost everything. Year 2, went 10-2. He flipped that program around. Obviously, we could have been a lot better in certain aspects, but he had a good year. He gave us double-digit wins, and that's what we expected, Oklahoma. Do we expect to make the playoffs? Do we expect to be in the Big 12 championship? You damn right we expect that. But remember, he was 1 game away from making that Big 12 championship. I guarantee you, if Danny Stutzman doesn't get hurt, we're in that game. Okay? Rematching with Texas. All right? So, year 2, you got to chalk it up. He's 1-0, okay? Because I'm not counting year 1. So, 1-0 for Brent Venables. Now, last year, again, lazy offensive coordinator hire, which on top of that, injury bug being bitten. I'm gonna put that on him. I'm gonna put that on Brent Venables just to appease the Oklahoma fan base when it comes to that, because we all want to point the finger at him, and that is something that I don't give him any excuses. I don't like the whole injury excuse, even though me personally, I don't find that an excuse. It's a fact. Okay, how many different teams in America? I'm not just talking about NCAA. I'm talking about NFL, high school, hell, Pee Wee. You don't even got 5 receivers in Pee Wee football. But how many teams in America had to go through their whole year with their top 5, sometimes their top 6 receivers being out? Nobody. I don't think it's ever happened. Okay, and then on top of that, you have a top 5 toughest schedule that you've been blessed with by the SEC, because we want to be successful versus Texas not being successful the last decade. You can't really put that on him, but like I said, we're going to go 1-1 just because I believe that offensive coordinator hire was Terrible. Okay. Now this year, I believe he's done all the right things to be successful. Did he ask for the toughest schedule in the nation? Maybe Florida might have a little competition when it comes to that title. No, that's just something that we were granted because we are the winningest program in the history of college football. All right, so that's something that we're gonna have to play through, and if we can get a double-digit win season this year, hell, if we can win 8, 9 games this year, you got to give that to him. We don't need to be bashing the man. We need to be 100% behind this man because really what I want to see is I want to see Brent Venables have a schedule that's like a Texas schedule. Of course, the freaking SEC is introducing the 9-team thing. How convenient, when we were supposed to literally swap schedules with Texas. Now we're going to go into the whole, 9 teams. So we're going to have 3 permanent, opponents each year, which might mess that up a little bit. Who knows? I don't think the SEC is going to do us too many favors either, if I'm being honest. But we're going to see what this year holds. We're going to see what we can expect going on to next year. But I can guarantee you, Brent Venables is not getting fired this year. I don't care if he has another year like last year. I still don't think he's getting fired. Now, if he goes and wins 5 games or under, he's out the door. Okay, that's something that's just not okay at Oklahoma. Hell, 6, 7 wins is not even okay at Oklahoma. But with the schedule that we have, it's understandable for some people. All the turnaround that we have. Again, I've been an Oklahoma fan my whole life. I don't get it. I'm not okay with 7 wins. I'm not okay with 6 wins. I'm not okay with 8, 9 wins, personally. But due to the situation that we're in, due to the circumstances that we've been placed in these last couple years, I get it. I 100% get it. You got to be reasonable. You got to understand these things. Year 1, depleted football team. Year 2, backed it up, 10 games win. Year 3, injury hell in Oklahoma. Okay, bad year. Year 4, let's see what you got, BV. And I expect great things from Brent Venables. I honestly, personally think that Brent Venables is going to bring us our next national championship. If not bring it to us, at least get us there. At least get us to the dance. The recruiting, a lot of people don't like the way Nagy is approaching his recruiting. But honestly, the way Oklahoma as a business at this point operates, we're not taking the Texas approach. We're not taking the Florida approach or the Miami approach where just throw all the money you can at these players. Oklahoma understands that at some point all of this stuff is going to get cut. All this spending money is going to be capped out at some point. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to prepare for that point so that once that cut happens, there's not going to be a drop-off at Oklahoma. You're going to see a drop-off down here in Austin, Texas with these Longhorns because they're not going to be able to spend the same money that they've been spending. You're going to see a drop-off at Miami, which sadly, they've been spending all the money in the world and they're still suck. But Oklahoma is a very realistic program and we look to the future. That's why we are one of the best programs in the history of college football. And that's exactly what I expect Brent Venables to continue. I expect Brent Venables to be here for the next 10 years, and like I said, man, I might sound crazy. You might not agree with me. It might be a dream of mine, but I'm just looking at how things are going, man, and it just sucks. The 2 years that Brent Venables has had that have been negative, low key, he couldn't do anything about. Again, I sound like a broken record. You can't do anything about players entering the transfer portal because their head coach left. You gotta understand that. You gotta be okay with that because I didn't sign up to be coached by Brent Venables. I signed up to be coached by Lincoln Riley. All right, boom. Last year, I want you in the comments to tell me how many teams in the history of the NCAA has been down their top 5, sometimes 6 receivers. How many teams in the history of the NCAA has had to play 10 different offensive line starters throughout a 12-game season? I don't think you're going to find too many. And if you did, I guarantee you that they had a bad year as well. All right. So, and that's just off the injury bug. But this year, I expect 100% flip, just like the 2023 season. I expect a top 10 defense. And Lord willing, say the same, I expect a top 30 or better offense. Okay. And if we get there, then I see us winning 9 games. I see us winning 10 games. And Oklahoma, that's exactly what I see for us this year. 9-3 to be honest. And that toss-up game is that Texas game. Because you never know. I don't think that we're going to beat Alabama at Alabama. And LSU looked like a hell of a squad this year. So if we're able to beat them at home, more power to us. But I don't see that one going our way. The Texas game is the flip. You know, this Ohio State game is going to tell us everything we need to know about Texas. And that Michigan game is going to tell us everything we need to know about Oklahoma. But until then, we're going to have to wait till this weekend and then next weekend to figure that out, how that game is going to go. And honestly, we all know it don't matter what team is better in that game. It's going to be a toss-up regardless. But that's all I got for y'all, man. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Again, if this is your first time tuning in, this is year 3 for me. You know, I'm not the off-season guy, and you'll catch me, you'll see this face, you'll hear this voice during the season. And when you hear this voice, you know that it's game time. So let's get it, baby. Y'all make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. I appreciate y'all. Positive message of the day, just because I'm feeling good, man. I don't know any, like I said, with the positive message of the day, none of this is written. It's always just kind of like what's on my heart, what I feel like somebody might need to hear. But yesterday's was keep your head up. Today, man, I just want y'all to do right by somebody else. Okay? Don't worry about yourself all the time, because, you know, you're always going to have opportunity to provide for yourself. But how many times do you have the opportunity to provide for somebody else? And when I say provide, I don't mean financially, although it can be financially. It can be emotionally. Who knows? Whatever somebody else might need, whether it goes back to yesterday's. It might be that smile. It might be you being a positive person for the day, just so that they can get out of their negative funk that they've been feeling for the whole day. Okay? But I appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. That's the positive message of the day. Do right by somebody else, not just yourself all the time. I'm pretty sure they'll appreciate it, and I'm pretty sure at the end of the day you'll feel a lot better about yourself for doing it. But I appreciate y'all again for tuning in. Y'all know why this season has to be night and day from last year. One, way better offensive coordinator, way better offense. Way better, not way better, but growing defense. And the most important thing is it's in our DNA, baby. Appreciate y'all. Have a good day. Hasta luego. Hasta la vista. Bye.